Love. Just love. Isn't that the most meaningful takeaway of all?
What was the biggest challenge you had to face while filming the show? Love you all. Hi, Ashley. Oh, hi. We love you. Biggest challenge I had to face. This is, I don't know. I think when it comes to stunts, I think, stunt men and women are so amazing at their jobs, and they have the animalistic nature and ness of how you need to be and be like a warrior and stuff like that. I, on the other hand, am like a very long and lanky person, so I'm kind of not coordinated at all. I think I struggled with that a bit. I think Taylor and I, when we had fight scenes, like argument scenes, or even Sarah Yarkin, who plays Libba, and we had those, insulting scenes. I think a struggle or a challenge was that we would burst out laughing because we love each other so much, and the things that we're saying are just ludicrous. We would never say those things to each other.
Oh, so sweet. Thank you, Chloe. I think when you've had a lot taken from you, it's very difficult to keep a confidence and belief in yourself. You start blaming yourself and wondering why you weren't good enough for people, or why no one stays in your life for long. And when you start to see a pattern, you eventually just blame it on you, and it stops being coincidence, and it stops being the world and other people's choices. It becomes, what am I doing wrong? Why are these people leaving me? And you can't blame yourself for your mother's death in the army, because that death in that kind of situation is inevitable. But of course, grief is messy, and you can't sometimes see straight when in grief and in love. And I think she just doesn't feel very strong emotionally, and of course that leads her to not believing she's physically strong. I think that is one and the same for her. So yeah.
Thank you for your compliments on my English. Yes, it is hard at times, but I'm a person who mirror the people I'm with. So now that I've been in Sweden for a while, in Norway, I feel like I've lost all my English and that I'm not on top of my pronunciation. Whereas when I'm Americans, it's a lot easier. But there was one thing that the rest of the cast would laugh at me for, especially Demetria. And it's every time I'm trying to make a point, because so Demetria's got an allergy, and when we went to restaurants together, I sometimes wanted to help her out and mentioning it. Well, let's just sum it up like this: she's not at all allergic to dairy. She's allergic to dairy. I know that now, that they're two different words. Other than that, it's no, I went to an English-speaking secondary high school in Sweden, so I had a lot of English from that. And also in Sweden, we don't dub our TV series, so we grew up watching Friends and The Simpsons and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in the original language, which is not the fact for many European countries. I think that gives Scandinavians or Swedes a good advantage in it.
My favorite relationship in the show, I believe, would be the one between Raelle and Scylla, just because it's such a paradox. I myself usually always go for the the person that I should not be going for, but it's so vulnerable, and how they play it, it's so beautifully portrayed, because they're each other's enemy, and yet they find each other on a more human level. And it's Romeo and Juliet. It's Tristan and Isolde. It's all of that. It's the classical romance, you know, and I recognize that, and I think it's very intricate and very complex. And you know, even you see that as well when Raelle goes back. There is still, when she says that to Anacostia, I still love her, and to be able to, you know, admit that, even though you're talking about your enemy, and an enemy that has infiltrated your world and has killed many a people, but still that there is a love that somehow stands is quite interesting. And you know, that's what storytelling is all about. You know, you want to look for the love stories that are that complicated. And so yeah, I think that is the most beautiful relationship, besides the other ones that are so beautifully portrayed by the girls. Because even with Adil and Abigail, it's just, you know, it's very beautiful, but it's the paradox for me, I guess, that is luring me in, or that I find the most intriguing, because I probably recognize it, having been in them myself. Not that I've been with someone who has killed people, don't get me wrong, but it's just, you know, I usually always fall for the ones that are, you know, and it's when it's not tangible and when it's out of my reach. So yeah, I kind of recognize that, and I feel for Raelle and Scylla in a way. Me, not as Alder, but as me, Lynn.
Okay, so the next question is, at first Tally was a living exclamation mark, but now she's not. In episode 8, we could see how the particular light Tally always carried was gone, and I was wondering how it made you feel, and how did you prepare to deliver such an amazing performance? Do not let anything make those dimples disappear. Performer, it's really exciting that you get such a nuanced character. So I relished in it, all of it. And I felt very protective, very much like you guys do, of the characters. I felt really protective of Tally. Every time I knew something was going to happen, you know, I remember reading 5, the wedding, and then realizing Garrett's engagement, and I was just like, no, why? You know, or, you know, her coming after Garrett so lustfully, and being just so beautifully open in her wanting of him. I was just like, cringe. I'm like, why does she have to be so desperate in her seeking of this, you know? And Elliot just really kindly always reminded me that she's 18, and this is infatuation, and this is, you know, first love, and this is first heartbreak, and this is first, and to I guess really go back to those firsts for me in my life, and to be playing a character who's really seeing the world as a child almost would, was just such a beautiful gift to my own inner child. And then to kind of just feel out those growing pains again. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. But yeah, the dimple won't ever go away. I even when I'm not smiling, it kind of makes an appearance. So I don't think it will ever go out.
As you all know, our show relies a lot on CGI. And yeah, we do a lot of acting. Well, obviously we're acting, but you know, when Raelle and I are looking up at like the Necro building in episode 2, 3, can't remember. That was literally 2 blue sheets made to look like a box, and we had to imagine what it would look like. When Adil and I are in episode 7, like looking at, you know, this world when he goes invisible and Abigail's seeing it for the first time, we had to imagine all of that. So I don't know if it necessarily makes it challenging, but it definitely just broadens, I think, our imaginations, because we don't know what it's gonna look like, right? We haven't seen like their adaptation of what's written in the script. So I think that's where we get to, you know, have fun with it and play with it and just like make it our own. And then when it comes out in post with the CGI, it's magical. I don't know. I'm such a goofball.
Wow, y'all coming up with some good questions. If I could create my own seed sound, it would make it so that people could feel each other's pain. Now, before y'all get at me, I think that part of the problem between the witches and between humanity, and even with what we're kind of facing today, is empathy and compassion seem to be very minimalistic in society just generally. I'm a big believer in the golden rule, you know, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I feel like if people really thought that they could experience what other people experienced, whether it was via, you know, racial profiling, whether it was sexual discrimination, whether it was whatever, any kind of wrong that is being done to humanity, if you had an opportunity to really experience it, I feel like you'd do less of it. I feel like you'd be more interested in doing good by people, and thus it would actually make a change. And you know, the pain or the whatever the seed sound did would be self-inflicted. So you know, if you over here doing wrong, this what you get. Stop doing that. What we learn. What does it sound like? Oh man, what would that sound like? Something like that, but you know, they dazzle, razzle, matazz that thing, so it has some kind of eerie minor note to it. I love how they do that. So that would be my seed sound. Seed sound, don't do it again. Yeah.
What Motherland character best represents me? That was a tough question. But then again, not. I think Raelle. I myself am someone who has always gone the opposite way of what was expected from me. I'm one to break the rules, but in a good way. I like to go against the stream. I'm not a sheep. I think I'm more the wolf, and also trying to find out what it is that works for me, what I want, what makes my heart tick. I grew up in Belgium in the countryside, and I think, most people that I know, that are very close with my friends, they've stayed here, they've built their own home and family, which is an incredible, beautiful thing to do. But for me, it was all too small. I knew that there was a world out there that was bigger, and I wanted to be part of something bigger. I always wanted to somehow make a difference. When people ask me what is it that is important to you, I always say that I hope that I can leave people better than I found them, to make a difference there, and breaking rules where you can, to expand yourself, expand your view, expand the possibilities into who you can become. As a woman, I feel that I didn't want to be put in an everyday situation where I had to follow this, the system or what's expected from you. I've always, since I was a child, had the need to, push my limits further. I always say that the limits that you feel that you have, those are the limits that you've brought to yourself. So always be aware that you can grow every single day as a person and push your limits further to see what's out there. And it is scary sometimes, but I always feel like, behind fear lies your truth. So for me, I think that would be something that, so I think Raelle, because she's stubborn and she doesn't want to follow rules and a regime and certain ways. She most certainly doesn't agree with everything that's going on, And I recognize myself in that. So if I would see myself in a character, it would be Raelle.
I actually have a couple. I wrote them down so I could remember during this. No, but it was funny because Taylor and I, when they dropped the soundtrack, we both immediately were texting each other our favorite songs. We had seen the first 6, and it was funny because we were trying to match what song went where, and we had seen 6 episodes. We hadn't seen 7, 8, 9, or 10, so we didn't know some of them where they would go, or what we would even see during the placement of that song. But yeah, okay, I'm rambling, but you get it. Aftermath, literally, that's after the wedding attack. Chills just listening to the song. Of course you see it on TV and you're like, dang, but no, just listening to it and just closing your eyes, and literally chills ran up my body. Missing Salva, when Raelle goes on a suicide mission basically to the beach to find Scylla. That one was really emotional for me, and one less witch in the world for my little Libba, my favorite neigh horse. I think that song did so much justice. It gave her justice. No one wants to see a character die, especially someone who, well, Abigail and Libba weren't that close. They were starting to get close right when she passed, but Sarah and I were close, so I feel like that song really did her character justice. And yeah, the whole soundtrack is freaking awesome, freaking amazing though, but those are some of my favorites.
Oh, where to start? I mean, I think the biggest change was the shift from innocence to wisdom. And I read a beautiful quote that says that wisdom is innocence grown up. And for me, I think with every script that was coming in, knowing where Tally starts, which was this shiny living exclamation mark, so innocent, so ignorant, so naive, and idealistic, you just know that life is going to teach us some lessons. And for me, in my life, you never want to lose your heart. You never want to lose the hope. And when life hurts you, the temptation to kind of to turn off, to distrust, to kind of cut off your heart and to lose hope, to become ultimately a cynic, is easier than to somehow learn to keep your eyes wide open and to still keep your heart. So for me, that was the change, was that Tally was either going to become the cynic or she was going to somehow learn to survive and adapt, keeping her most beautiful part, her trust, her hope, her heart, while being open to seeing the world in all its grayness, and to to kind of have her pillars be knocked down, and for her to rebuild and to realize that nothing was what it seemed. And yeah, her coming to terms with that.
I wish I could take all the credit for what I do to get ready for that. I think that part of it is just, I'm an emotional person. I'm very in tune with my emotions. I don't run from them. I confront them head on. I think it's been my healthiest choice. And when the writing is so good, Elliot Lawrence really, really puts emotion in his pen and it spills onto the page. So when you're reading what he's doing, and when we're not in costume, we're not in hair, makeup, we're not together, and you're sitting and you're reading the script and you believe it and you feel it and it tugs at something within you, it's even easier to bring it to the forefront when it's time to yell action. The other thing is, I've lived a lot of who Anacostia is. My mother was a master sergeant in the Air Force, so the dig to find who Anacostia is as a warrior or as a person in the military wasn't hard to find. I've known her since I was born. And I've always said, the other part, the compassionate part of me, comes from being a mom and having to figure out what that disciplinary action looks like in that moment. The punishment has to fit the crime. The apology has to be there when you're wrong. You have to respect that this person is growing into their own mindset while you're trying to fill that mindset with positivity and influence of a good nature. So just understanding what I had to do with my kids, shouts to Daquan. I tried to bring some of that to the forefront with Anacostia as well, because I wanted all the layers that had been painted by Elliot to really come to life whenever I got a chance to do my part. So there you go.
Who's most like their character? Well, when we filmed it, the first season, we were all on board with the fact that Ashley Nicole Williams is most like her character, Abigail Bellwether. But, as I watch the series now, throughout the season, you really see how people are using so much of themselves, and just as their characters are growing, I feel like we're all sort of merging into being our characters. The one that sticks out, though, as the one who's the least like her character, that is Lyne Renee. She's nothing like Alder. But not to say that she's not as badass. And if she was a witch that had to fight for witches and be the big witch leader for 400 years, 300, she'd probably be a lot like Alder. I'm guessing you have to wash away all your softness and goofiness. Maybe you don't. Maybe it's the choice that Alder made that Lyne wouldn't make. Because she's a fairy. Yeah. But it's still Ashley. Ashley is still the answer. And also a little bit Jessica. As Tally. Yeah. I wish I could do this with them.
This next question I love, because I right now get to tell you guys how much we love and appreciate you. The question is, what's your favorite thing about the fans? We love you guys so much. We love our job, and we love, playing these characters in these fun roles, but seeing your reaction and how, what we do impacts you and how that makes you feel means the world to us. We do everything for you guys. I love the fan art. It's so freaking cool to me because I can't draw, I can't do any of that. So that's amazing. And just, I don't know, the fandom for Motherland is unlike any fandom I've seen, really. You guys genuinely care about our well-being, which is so crazy amazing to me. I'll get tweets I hope you're staying hydrated, please drink water, we love you, and I'm oh, I don't know what that was, but I don't know, just the genuine love and care. Just know that we love and care for you guys right back, and we wouldn't have jobs if it weren't for you guys. We love your reactions. We love watching everything and creating everything, but how you guys are reacting to it, it really warms our heart. So thank you. Mwah. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys so much. And all of the inanimate object Twitters, that's so wild to me that I was gonna end this video, now I'm still going, but there's a Twitter for Abigail Bellwether, and they tweet as Abigail Bellwether. Like, that's so amazing to me that we and our characters have that much of an impact on you guys. So I just want to say thank you.
So my most memorable episode is 10, and I just don't ever think I've ever been that raw before in my life. I felt such palpable grief for the experience coming to an end. You know, this epic 5-month journey where, you know, life was really starting to imitate art life, the blur between fantasy and reality, the fact that, you know, this group of strangers felt like my family, and we had spent all this intimate, intense time together making this thing, you know, that we were going to put out to the world. But while we were shooting it, it was also signifying an ending to this experience, and I just wasn't ready to let it go. I remember just feeling like I want to stay, and I don't want to let Tally go, and I don't want this experience to stop. So, you know, especially with the scene towards the end where I'm in the fuselage and Tally has been bedified and Raelle is lying there dying, and Ashley and Abigail has gone to her side, and the unit is, you know, officially separated. And it's just like, I remember going, you know, this is the moment of total surrender and letting go of everything, of the show, of the character, of, like, that's the scene, right? That's the moment where you just have to give it your all, and in, I guess, in a dramatic sense, die into the moment, because that's what the characters are doing. And it's just such an epic climax. Yeah, that I think we were all just feeling it from the table read on. I mean, we were just really battling to pull ourselves together. But it was the final push, and we knew that we had to say goodbye to our baby.
What song do I listen to get into character? Usually when I prepare for a character or when I'm working on a show, I don't necessarily choose a song to a character. I have this one song that I listen to after every workday while I'm taking a bath, because I said that Alder would love to lie in a bath and listen to classical music. It's very much what I do, and the song that I listen to is Casta Diva from the opera Norma, sung by Maria Callas. For me, she is by far the most incredible artist that has lived. To me, she was a perfectionist. She wasn't just a singer, but the actor that came with her, and the way how she brought emotion to the storyline, to me, is one of the most impeccable things I have experienced and listened to. I highly recommend everyone to just, you know, you don't have to be in a bath, but anywhere, just lie down, close your eyes, have it on a speaker on your phone or a really good system in your room. But Casta Diva, to me, is a piece that has been made and performed by Maria Callas, which is simply perfection. The difficulty in the technicality of having to perform that song is so high, and she does it in a way that is truly, I mean, I've never experienced something like that. And I'm an incredible music lover. I'm a singer myself. I trained classically myself and sang a lot of operatic pieces. But to get to that level, to where how Maria Callas performs is truly incredible. And to listen to that it always helps me to prepare as an actor, because for me preparation is everything. It's not missing a beat, because you can prepare and go to set, but anything can change, anything can happen. A prop can make a difference, something in your costume, the way that the actor in front of you, you never know what's going to happen or how they're going to approach things. So you need to be able to throw everything away that you've prepared for and therefore change it again. And therefore preparation for me is everything in my line of work. And when I listen to that song, I can only imagine how much time she has spent to prepare herself and perfect the performance while singing it. So that is the song that I listen to.
I can't decide. I can't choose but one. Having now been away from set and having had time to really process everything that this whole experience of shooting Motherland, I think I cherish every moment that we had together, through the hard, the painful, confusion, exhaustion. It was just all beautiful. The whole experience was the best moment. And I just want to specifically just take a moment to say that it's so rare to have an ensemble, firstly, of such diversity, but also where you're really experiencing a sisterhood, where you're having cast and crew who have each other's backs, that there's such trust and such love and such respect. I grew as a person on that show, and with these incredible women who have been some of the greatest mentors, greatest teachers, greatest friends. You know that you're hired to do a job, and the job ends at some point, and you're not obligated to make friends. You're obligated to be friendly and professional. But the surge of love that we had for each other from day one, I don't want to cry. But I think you can feel it. I think maybe that's what ultimately resonates, so much for me with the show, is that, you're feeling these characters' love, and that love was the foundation between us as people, not just as characters. So thank you for such beautiful questions. I loved answering them, and I hope I didn't babble too much, but it's been a beautiful 10 weeks of every episode coming out and seeing such fandom grow, and we are so freaking grateful for the love and support that you've shown our show. We love you guys.
Thank you so much for taking the time to submit questions for us. It's been so much fun to answer it, and a lot of the questions just brought me back into shooting, and it makes me miss my castmates so much, and I'm glad that you're seeing them here with me, even though I'm not. Thank you again for all the questions and for watching, and we love your engagement and all the love you share and show us. Bye! Hej då! Ha det! Tschüss! That's for all my European friends.